Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I'm informed voting. We're here with Adam Rueda, who's running for a seat on New Jersey's 5th Congressional District. Greetings, Adam. How are you?
Greetings, Hercules. It's great to be on with you. Thanks for being flexible and making time for me tonight.
And it's great to have you here. Now, you're young. You're surprisingly young. What brought you to this point where you're running for office?
Yeah, I'm going to be 29 actually at the end of the month, so I feel like that's a good age to get involved in politics and in federal government. But what brought me to participate in this race? I would say a couple things. I've been shocked and horrified by the human rights abuses that I've seen in this country, perpetuated by ICE, and the construction of for-profit detention centers within this state and beyond. I've unfortunately been very moved by seeing families and communities and neighbors that I've known all my life and communities that I've been blessed enough to meet, recently, living in fear, being scared to leave their homes, running home from school bus stops. And I just am really moved and disheartened seeing that in this country. It's supposed to be the land of the free. And, the human rights violations in general, both domestically and internationally, have really moved me just to get involved and, trying to ask the right questions and push for what I believe is right, morally and ethically right.
And I love your post search simple. It says that all your four important areas that you're focusing on. Would you care to go into those areas a little bit?
Absolutely. I just touched on human rights. I think we need to do more to uphold the dignity and the human dignity and the respect of all people. We can't buy into any kind of narrative of second-class citizens. Unfortunately, the narrative of second-class citizens is a narrative that, led to some of the worst atrocities in World War II and in the Holocaust. So domestically, we can't buy into any kind of narrative that devalues any human being, even if they are illegal citizens, illegal aliens, or detainees. We have to still realize that they have rights and they needed to be treated with a certain baseline of dignity and respect. And I think that if we're involved in conflicts abroad, the same goes for any civilians that are involved in the conflict. Internationally. I think that if we're operating in a military capacity or an alliance with any country, I think that it's our utmost responsibility as a leader of the advanced Western world, as a leading advanced democracy in the world, to uphold the human rights of all people. And I think it's our responsibility as a world leader. So that's my main message first and foremost. Next one is free speech. I'm super passionate about free speech. I believe that censorship and shadow banning and muting on social media about certain topics has really gone too far. Someone that's chronically online and posting a lot um, about sensitive topics, about political topics, I really realized this kind of muting and censorship of certain sensitive topics kind of originated during COVID and has just, grown since then, since around 2020, 2021, when we were going through the pandemic and, has unfortunately spread to all other kinds of topics involving, international conflict or beyond. I also think that we need to fight as our country to access to unbiased science and history. I think that's a big part of free speech. And I think the silencing of, valid climate science is a huge problem and is suppressing American innovation. And that's the American innovation that has made this country so great. We pride ourselves on being a capitalist, entrepreneurial society that is constantly innovating and creating new technologies. And that's what this country is built on. And that's why we're a leader, economically. So when we are suppressing free speech of climate scientists and people that are researching alternative sustainable energies, um, I think that's a huge problem as well. So that's all part of free speech. I think that we need to also recognize some of the painful parts of our history and not bury them, but teach them to our students and teach them to all upcoming generations, so we can learn from the kind of painful mistakes that we've made and the kind of marginalized groups that have suffered already in this country, so we can move forward and learn from that and not slip backwards into that kind of mess and that kind of destruction. Next one is no trading. We have a congressman who is a prolific insider trader. He's frequently trading on information that he's getting regarding whether it's the start of a new war and it's going to affect oil stocks, or it's a coming contract with Microsoft or a Palantir or any kind of big tech. And with the government, he is one of the biggest profiters of insider trading. His net worth has risen in the 10 years that he's been in Congress, has risen from $5 million when he joined Congress. His net worth is now up over 55 million. So he's profited $50 million in the past 10 years as our congressman. So I've made the personal pledge to not own or trade stocks or crypto while I'm in office. So I won't have that bias and that burden and that financial incentive to vote certain ways or write certain legislation. So I can actually freely represent the people that I'm supposed to be representing in New Jersey 5 and Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex County. And I'll have one less thing to worry about. Because I don't know how it is possible to vote truly objectively or truly, using your critical thinking, trying to consider what your constituents want, when you also have, such a big financial piece of your own baked into the puzzle. And we're talking about large numbers of stock ownership. So I think that is a big bias and it's a big problem, the self-profiteering in Congress. So I've kind of taken that pledge to, you know, set the bar, and hopefully there's more candidates and more sitting politicians even that are willing to kind of take that pledge personally. So even if the laws and bans are not passed in Congress, we can start electing people that, hold that to themselves and set that bar for themselves. Lastly, I have Medicare for all. I believe that that's long overdue in this country. A lot of people are suffering with medical conditions that they can't afford to treat, or without medicine that they can't afford. People are going bankrupt over medical bills. So I think we're long overdue, especially when you look at the amount of taxes we pay. And where that ranks in terms of other countries and the amount of taxes they pay, and which of those countries, already have some kind of compulsory universal health care. So I think it's super important to kind of build more safety nets and social services for people in general, working class people, and fill in some of these gaps so people are at least, it goes all the way back to human rights and receiving the medical care they need. I really don't believe that healthcare is congruent with being a for-profit venture. I think that those two things are directly at odds with each other. So I look to, support and write a Medicare for all or universal healthcare plan, get behind some of the most progressive people in Congress in that aspect.
Wow, those are powerful points, and I wish you great success with them. I
Thank you, sir.
when I had my TV show on cable years ago, I was considered a champion of free speech, and now my shows occasionally get community strikes because somebody makes a controversial comment. It's such a strange difference from years ago when people could speak their mind, especially like a fringe programming.
Yeah, I think it's a result of the, monopolization of a lot of these content sources and media sources, unfortunately. So it's much easier to kind of bring down this top-down censorship. There's not supposed to be any censorship on free speech from the government. So if it is exposed or, comes to light that the government is passing down these ultimatums to social media companies to suppress certain ideas or certain words, that's in direct violation of the First Amendment. And Zuckerberg mentioned that recently, relatively recently, that he had been pressured by the government, by the Biden administration, to suppress some of the information about COVID and vaccines on his site. So that at minimum is a violation of the First Amendment, and that's really the kind of directives I'm most interested in investigating. It's on the top of my list, on my priority list, when I'm in office.
You identify with any particular movement or party? Like you consider yourself a Democrat or Republican? independent, conservative, or progressive? How do you categorize yourself?
Yeah, I'm definitely more left-leaning, more progressive. I'm running as an independent. I think that we need to introduce a new voting bloc to our Congress. I think that introducing a new voting bloc could really help break the gridlock and move us towards the next chapter of negotiation and compromise in our Congress. If you look at the amount of laws that Congress has passed most recently in this 119th Congress, it's at an all-time low, and Congress is failing to do, their basic minimum responsibilities. If you look at the chart, it's just a precipitous decline of how many laws have been passed, leading up until now. It's just a downward decline in terms of, you know, the kind of the work that Congress is actually getting done and completed. So I think a new voting bloc that's actually committed to representing their constituents and thinking objectively and not the new voting bloc cannot be so tied to corporate and international interests. And I think that will really break the gridlock and allow for better representation and more leaders that will allow for more leaders that people will actually latch onto. But I'm trying to start a new political party. So instead of running as just a one-off independent, which I am technically, but I'm really trying to start a new political party in this country. It's called Green Party 2.0. Blessed to have almost 6,000 followers on Instagram. So if I am in Congress, I will be sitting as not an R, not a D, but a little G. And it'll stand for Green Party 2.0. And, I'm hoping to inspire more young professionals and working class leaders to run for Congress outside of the two-party system.
Yeah, I had the Green Party on back when I had a podcast on Block Talk Radio, which was an audio podcast. And there was also a movement at the time in New Jersey to get a primary for independent folks. They would have as much weight as the Republican and Democratic primaries.
That would be great. Yeah, I think that the closed primary system really leaves out a lot of people, and I'm hoping that's not intentional. But I think that we can do much better in terms of an open primary system or a primary for independents or third party primary. Sounds great as well. It's something I'm all for.
Now, everyone I've had on, and I used to be part of panels that interviewed people who are running for like local office, like with the school board and so forth.
Yeah.
One thing that voters want to know is a little bit about the person running. And that's basically what this show is about. It's like instead of voting down a line or in a category or a series of boxes, get to know the people running, learn what they're all about, and listen to what they have to say, and then vote with whoever you resonate with the most, rather than, again, I vote by party or I vote by faction or so forth. So can we learn a little bit more about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you that I think that voting with the blinders on, and just within partisan lines, both as civilians voting for elected officials and also voting with the blinders on in Congress, I think really contributes to the demise and the downfall of the representation and the democracy that we are seeing now. So I totally agree with you on that point. About me, I grew up here in Sussex County for 20 years. This is where I grew up in Andover Township. It's one of the westernmost towns in NJ-5, up here in pretty rural Sussex County. Um, I went to Pope John High School in Sparta Township, and then I attended Bucknell University, which is in rural Pennsylvania, Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. Then after that, my work experience includes working as a senior financial analyst in commercial real estate. And then I transitioned to a career in interior design sales, both directly to the end user. And then I transitioned even further to business to business, selling directly to interior designers and architects in New York City and Manhattan. So it's been, I think I've gained a lot of diversified work experience. I come from a blue collar working class background. I was blessed enough to attend private school on grants, scholarships, and financial aid. So, I was blessed to receive the education that I did. But my family is extremely hardworking. They sacrificed a lot to send me to private high school and private elementary school. So I'm really just trying to make them proud and, leverage my education that I do have for the greater good.
And did you get involved in government in school? Like were you part of the student council or?
I was in student government for a year. I was most involved in Greek life. I served on my fraternity, SIGEP, exec board, which I honestly learned so much from, because you have to coordinate with the school leadership as well as the town of Lewisburg and all their local ordinances in terms of noise and throwing parties and stuff like that. And I know it sounds kind of silly, but I really did gain a lot from working and learning from those young men and coordinating environment that was fun and safe and well planned. So I learned a lot through that experience, but I've never been involved in public service in this way.
So what gave you the desire to take that very important step into the arena of public service?
Yeah, so I deeply care about NJ-5. Like I said, this is where I grew up. I think it's a beautiful district. I think it's a special district. It borders New York City. It's like what some of the best picturesque suburbs, beautiful parts of New Jersey, here in NJ-5 throughout Sussex, Bergen, and Passaic County. And I really felt that there was a gap between the feelings, political feelings, and opinions of the constituents and our current representation. And unfortunately, democracy has failed in some ways as both the Democratic incumbent and the Republican presumptive nominee are both running unopposed. And unfortunately, the Republican is not being very competitive in their marketing messaging or, asking Gottheimer really the right questions. Or, I don't know how serious he is about winning the seat. So I think at such a pivotal time in our country and where so much is going wrong domestically and internationally, I think it's incredibly imperative that someone push the envelope and ask the right questions and, demand actually, better representation, whether it be from Josh or from me, going forward. So I really just do see that gap, and a lot of people are suffering and feel unrepresented on the federal level. So I think there's an opportunity there to, reach out to those people who are, a lot of people are unfortunately very disillusioned with politics and, very turned off by, how things are going. So I don't want people to become apathetic and, give up on voting and participating in democracy further. So I'm really trying to make it, someone like me. I've worked as a DJ as well and working in interior design. I have a little bit more of a creative background. So I'm trying to get some of those people off the couch that are independents or that might have been disaffected and haven't voted in the past years, to realize that I truly am going to be a different kind of a politician, a different kind of leader. I'm someone that's completely unbought by corporations or foreign interests. I've taken no money from anyone except everyday people that I've met in the district, and I intend to continue that up until the race in November. So I'm really trying to set the bar in multiple ways, to show people what leadership will look like when your congressman is actually prioritizing the people on the ground of the district every single day. Because I think we've gotten so far away from that. So that's a big part of my messaging, along with that we need a new party, a new voting bloc at minimum in Congress to kind of, help the conversation and help the gridlock, become a little bit less icy.
And how are you spreading the word? I know you go on podcasts, you have a sign. Are you like hooking up with the Women's League of Women's Voters, participate in their debates? What type of outreach are you doing?
Yeah, I would love to participate in a debate. I hope that they see this video. And now that I'm officially on the ballot, I went to Trenton this week to submit my 455 signatures that were all approved. So it looks like I'm going to be on the ballot.
Awesome.
Um, yep, coming up. So hopefully that will kind of allow people to take my candidacy a little bit more seriously than they have been. But I've been doing what I can with limited fundraising on social media as well as on foot, just talking to people in the street, in parks, in shopping malls, at protests or like-minded groups. I've been trying to go to whatever I can that in regards to, pro-Earth people, people that are against ICE, any kind of, progressive Democrat group. I've been trying to show face that and shake hands and get my name out there and let them know that there's going to be at least another option coming up here for 2026. But to that end, I really do need more fundraising. If anyone here watching this would like to donate, the link is right in my bio. Any 5, 10, $20 really helps a lot towards print marketing. I plan to do, a big run of postcards in physical mail, especially in some of the more densely populated towns, and hopefully can afford to make a professional like campaign video, a 60 or 90-second video, and post that online and maybe even get a few cable TV slots to kind of solidify the message. But yeah, just doing what I can with limited resources. Like I said, this is truly, truly grassroots, people powered. So, I think that I know it looks a little bit genuine and grassroots when you look at my campaign, but I don't think that that's, the worst thing in the world.
No, it's not. And although this is a drop in the bucket, if 10 applies in District 5, I believe it's correction District 5,
Yeah,
uh,
it is.
put a sign on my lawn when you have signs, and feel
Thanks.
free to let people know what you're doing. I created a special group for the informed voting, so you can share in there. It's open to everybody, that one. So feel free to post whatever you're doing there if you'd like people to know.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for posting me and sharing some of my posts. I think that it's great. And, our democracy wasn't designed like this to be all about money and fundraising and have so much barriers of wealth and fundraising to participate in our democracy and our representation. So, at the end of the day, I know that a lot of these politicians, it's all about money. And I'm really trying to break that mold a little bit. And if I can, make a competitive race with minimal fundraising, hopefully I get more fundraising, but as competitive as I can be with minimal fundraising, I think I'm kind of breaking ground on a new strategy. I think social media is the great equalizer, and I think that none of this would be possible. I don't think that Zoran Mamdani would have been able to win without social media. And I think that social media really is the great equalizer in terms of running for politics and federal and local elections. And because without social media, we would have to rely on paid commercials, paid print ads, and it's just not as realistic. But social media, it's the great equalizer and it can allow a lot of more people to participate and get their messaging out there. So get considered as a candidate, see if it's gaining traction. So I think that as much as, grassroots candidates and independent candidates can leverage social media, that's part of my mission as well. I think that, that's going to be the way forward for people that aren't going to be in service of corporations and foreign interests.
Yeah, we used to have a strong mythology because I'm the child of immigrants. I was born in this country. I was conceived in Greece, but I was born here. And my father was born here, but he's also Greek descent. Spent some of his childhood in Greece. And America was always the city on top of the hill, the golden city, the place where you go to work hard and make dreams come true, where your children can live a better life than you lived yourself.
Right.
And it had a mythical quality. The land that took ancient Greek democracy and made it better and was a beacon of democracy for the whole world. And the past decade or so has been very difficult on these myths that I believe that people believe in America, and it's easy to lose heart because, as you said, a lot of people are apathetic, they're tired of it, they don't want to deal with it. We need to deal with it. We need to face it. We need to take action if it's going to change.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, the wealth gap has just widened and widened, and a lot of people are just their money is going that much less far in terms of gas prices now being, double honestly what they were. And there's different expenses from coming from every angle. So that's part of my message. We need more safety nets and social services for people. I think that we are all the way at like late stage extreme capitalism right now, and we're so far away from empathy and upholding human rights as a priority. So I think tipping the scales a little bit back that way will do a lot of good for everyone, even outside of politics, outside of believing in politics, just help the quality of life, rise up a little bit more.
And you've answered this question already several times through your answers that you've given to the other questions and the things that you've said. Uh, what is your grand vision? And again, you've answered the question, but let's summarize the thing now.
My grand vision is a country where we really value human rights of every single person, and every single person can live freely and at least healthily with the freedom and peace of mind to know that the medical care that they need is in reach. And that's going to be super important for me, candidate and as a politician going forward. And yeah, I hope that we can be less involved in endless foreign wars I think that was a big part of, the Trump and Vance ticket that we voted for. America, voted for in a big way in 2024, and that's unfortunately not the policy that was delivered. So I hope that we can get to more of a place of peace and, keeping our soldiers, home and at their bases. So yeah,
Okay, thank you. That was powerful, and I believe in your vision. Um,
thanks so much.
are there any thoughts you'd like to leave people with before we wrap up for today?
Yeah, if you're in New Jersey 5, if you're in Bergen, Passaic, and Sussex County, I really urge you to just check out your existing Congressman, Josh Gottheimer, and if you're planning on voting in this upcoming election, just review, his language, his rhetoric, his policies, and what he's accomplished in the past 10 years, and make an honest decision for yourself if you're comfortable sending another vote to this supposed, extremely conservative Democrat. So I think it's important that people stay engaged with politics and don't give up hope. And the younger generation is upcoming. We're educated and we understand the problems. And I feel like a lot of the younger generation is mostly on the same page about a lot of these things. So I just urge people to not give up hope in democracy and in representation, and just hold on a little bit longer because I'm hopeful that this bottoming out and full-on rejection of truthful science and suppressing of American innovation will be balanced by a new chapter of American innovation and intellectualism. And I really think that we can get there and get back to the international status that America used to be. So I hope so. I'm hopeful. I'm staying optimistic, and I know that we can do much more to uphold human rights and free speech.
And how can people contact you and get involved with what you're doing and learn more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Please, I'm trying to be a super accessible rep. So even when I'm in office, if I'm in office, I intend to keep the DMs open. Please check out my page, Instagram campaign, Rep Rueda, REPRUEDA, right on Instagram. Blessed to have like 4,500 people on there. Check out Green Party 2.0 on Instagram. There's also an Open Collective Green Party 2.0 page. Like I said, that's linked in my bio. If you are willing and able to make a donation, that's where you can do so. But yeah, feel free to get active in the comments section in my posts on Instagram. I aim to be super accessible and talk to constituents that way. And even when I am in office, I intend to hop on Twitch, hop on Instagram Live, as much as I can to stay connected with my constituents, hear their thoughts, hear what their struggles are and what they're going through, and do my best to relay that to the Congress and the greater federal government.
Like to share your adventures here, or if you think of something you forgot to say, if you'd like to say, just let me know. We'll schedule another interview here.
Thanks so much.
And I have one question. I didn't think that's before. What is the 2.0 mean for the Green Party?
Yeah, so obviously Green Party exists already. It was founded in 1984. That's the Green Party that you're probably most familiar with Jill Stein and Butch Ware.
Mhm.
I think that it's extremely unfortunate that they haven't been, very competitive. I don't understand why they've run, the same presidential candidate 3 times in a row. I don't understand why they haven't been able to get a congressman on the federal level since 1984, especially if I'm able to make any noise in this election. So I think that somehow, we see the Republican and Democratic Party be occupied in some sense by international interests and corporate interests. So I think that kind of occupation also applies to a much smaller party with minimal infrastructure like Green Party US. So I think that the current Green Party US is unserious and uncompetitive, but I think that they were founded on winning principles in 84, basically, prioritizing the earth, prioritizing the human rights and dignity of all people, pro-diversity, pro-feminism. So my ideals and my pillars of my political philosophy are, very overlapped with the Green Party US, philosophies. But unfortunately, I think they need a rebrand and a reboost, and that's what I aim to represent. And I also aim to bring the Green Party pillars to the federal level, and I think that that's where they're most needed, and they'll make the most impact. I mean, if you're someone that has rooted for the Green Party or voted for the Green Party since '84, all of those issues that they stand for, sustainability, climate science, have it's been a tumultuous nightmare for those kind of policies, since '84. So I really think that they haven't done a good job of upholding the responsibility that they've gained from their voters. So I think that, I'm really trying to push the bar for a Green Party, but hopefully I hope that um, supporters of Green Party will eventually see me, and if there are any in Bergen, Sussex, or Passaic County, they'll see me and realize that, of course, they agree with, these green policies that I'm mostly presenting.
There is a
But
great party here in Bergen. I'm on their mailing. So I know that they're here and they're active and they have meetings.
yeah, I have nothing against anyone that's in Green Party. I think it's the way forward, but I just think they need a rebrand. They wanted me to participate in a primary and delay the start of my campaign. So I just had to kind of go on my own. They don't offer much at all in terms of fundraising or really any help with your election. So I didn't see, really the incentive or, the benefit of working with them formally. But I do intend to, carry the flag of green politics in general. We see green politics have kind of a renaissance and rejuvenation in the UK, as more green members get elected to their parliament. So I think something similar can occur here, as we desperately need a third party and a third option that's not bought and owned by Israel. And yeah.
Hey, Adam, thank you so very much. I'm honored by your being here. I believe in what you're saying. I wish you the best of success in this and all your other endeavors, and look forward to hearing more about how your campaign is going.
Thanks so much, Hercules. We'll definitely stay in touch. Thanks for being flexible on the timing, and I look forward to seeing this posted and chopping it up, and getting some of our questions and answers on my Instagram as well. So thanks again for having me. I really appreciate what you're doing to give third party and independent candidates a chance. A lot of people won't even do that, journalists these days. So I really appreciate your time.
My honor, my pleasure, and it'll be up tonight. I'll send you a link.
Okay, cool. I look forward to watching it back.
Okay, good night,
Good night. Be well.
and thanks again. You too.
Thank you.